Good afternoon, everyone. I am Luke Tannen, President and CEO of Chicago Innovation, and I want to welcome all of you who are here today to our first event of the year, first event of 2022 for Chicago Innovation called Innovations We Need Right Now. Now, joining me to kick things off is the co-founder of Chicago Innovation, Tom Kaczmarski.
Thanks, Luke. Hey, welcome everyone today. I'm so glad you're involved with this important event. You know, it's been 21 years now that Chicago Innovation has been around, and I can't think of a more important topic than innovations we need right now. And I hope everybody is feeling happy, healthy, and terrific.
That's right, Tom. And you know, what better way to start a new year of challenges and opportunities than with an event that is focused on solving problems through innovation. And as we all know, supporting Chicago's problem solvers is exactly what Chicago Innovation is all about.
Well, you know, Luke, you're right. The mission of Chicago Innovation has been and continues to be to educate, celebrate, and connect innovators of all types throughout Chicago. And our vision is really to ensure that innovation is for everyone. So what we've also done is made sure, be intentional in our desire to include students through the Chicago Student Invention Convention, women through the Women's Mentoring Co-op, older and younger adults through Ageless Innovators, and our most recent program, The Ladder, which really is aimed at advancing the careers of Black and Latinx professionals as they advance their careers forward.
That's right, Tom. And there's so many ways to plug in to our innovation community. These 4 programs are a great example. If you're interested, contact us. We'd love to tell you more about them and have you be a part. We also, in addition to exploring these programs, continue to offer a full suite, full calendar of in-person and virtual events every single month for the Chicago Innovation community. They span a whole range of topics. You can see all of them here in this calendar, a diverse array of incredible speakers. And you know, last year we actually had over 10,000 people attend all of these events. We are looking forward to another great year together. Now, before we introduce today's speakers, there are a couple quick items I just want to share. First, if you have a question for the speakers, send it to us via the Zoom Q&A. We'll be keeping an eye out for your questions there. And also look out for some polling questions that we will be asking you, the audience. Now, before we get to our moderator, I want to recognize our current group of 2022 sponsors. These are an amazing group of companies. We're so grateful for them. We do so much to support them and celebrate them throughout the year. Starting with our diamond sponsors, SMS Assist, Wintrust, Accenture, and Molex. Gold sponsor, Comcast Business. Silver sponsor, Vetter Price. Bronze sponsors, Crown Castle and Thompson Coburn. And our media partners, Intersection, Clear Channel Outdoor, WBBM News Radio, and NBC Chicago. Back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Luke. Well, now it's my pleasure to introduce today's amazing moderator. Oh my gosh, this guy is just the best. You know, I met him 20 years ago when he would not only come to the Chicago Innovation Awards, but I met him when he was the co-chair with Hardik Bhatt of Mayor Daley's Council of Technology Advisors. He's the co-founder of the Market Strategy Group. Yeah, he really is a veteran marketer, and he's on the Polsky Center for Entrepreneurship Board, member of the Commercial Club, the Economic Club. I could just go on and on. But most importantly, connected to Chicago Innovation, he has been an amazing judge for the Chicago Innovation Awards and also a board member of Chicago Innovation. So please welcome Michael Kraus.
Thanks for that, Tom. We've got to make that shorter next time. But thank you. That was very kind of you. Welcome to today's Chicago Innovation Program, Innovations That We Need Right Now. I'm delighted to be joined by 4 incredible innovators who are literally changing the future of work, changing and reinventing education, solving big problems with big data, and transforming communities. On the panel, and they'll appear in front of you, Abdul Jarrar is Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Intel. Abdul leads Sales, Marketing, Enterprise, and Global Cloud at Intel. Great to have him. He's enabling innovation with security at its core. And Intel is all about and at the forefront for how we can work and work will be transformed in the years ahead. So welcome, Abdul, and we're going to hear more about how you're going to transform the way we work through innovation. My good friend Phyllis Lockett, she had an op-ed in Cranes today about education and the future of education. Phyllis is founder and CEO of Leap Innovations, which incubates and invests in ventures that will literally reinvent education. She spent her career as a social entrepreneur who connects innovation and education to transform the way students learn. She's an industrial engineer, a Kellogg MBA. She sits on the board of the CME Group. Welcome, Phyllis. Chris Gates, Group CIO and SVP, Compute Services and Tech Solutions at Allstate. Chris has many years at the C-level with Fortune 500 companies as CTO and CIO. For those of you who have seen Allstate's Innovation Center at the Mart, you know that Chris is solving big problems using big data. So welcome, Chris. And last, Jamal Cole is CEO and founder of My Block, My Hood, My City. He was named one of the 25 most powerful Chicagoans by Cranes and was named one of Chicago Magazine's New Power 30. He's working to transform communities. And I think, Jamal, that you're also running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. So welcome to all of our panelists. All right, to start, I want to do just kind of a lightning round, folks, and I'm going to start with Abdul. You know, why is innovation so vital right now? Just quick headlines. Abdul?
Yeah, I mean, we live in unprecedented times, and imagine if it wasn't for technology and we're all locked in and you know, sitting in our homes for 2 years, it would have been even a much more difficult time. So I think, you know, technology and all the innovations we saw in the last, 24 months or so in the last 2 years have been just incredible in keeping us all connected and caring about each other, even though we couldn't in many times see each other in person.
Well, it's great to have you. Hey, Phyllis Lockett, founder and CEO of Leap Innovations. That you tell us what about innovation and what you're enthusiastic about, and maybe even give us a word. What was that Cranes op-ed about that I mentioned?
Well, I think, as Abdul mentioned, I mean, this is an unprecedented time, particularly in education. And, the op-ed was really about how are we going to take this moment in time to advance innovation and not go back to normal, not go back to the way things were. Because quite frankly, the way we were serving our students was nowhere near hitting the mark. And so this really is a moment in time for us not to retract back to the inequities, the lack of preparation, where we're seeing our students not getting access to jobs and opportunities in a digital age, but to rethink learning and stop treating virtual learning as the emergency option. I mean, this is a digital age after all, and we have to be thinking about digital learning and hybrid learning as learning for the future.
We'll get back to that. Welcome and glad you're here. Chris Gates, Allstate, the Group CIO and SVP, what are you up to around big data and big problem solving?
Yeah, it is an exciting time. And I think Abdul mentioned, just the world changed on us a couple of years ago, and so did the expectation from our customers. The thought that you would be going into one of our brick and mortar facilities and having that conversation for an hour or two around, your daughter or son getting ready to go to college, and building those relationships, that type of business model has, quite frankly, it's evolved quite a bit. And there's an expectation that a lot of that information you know already about your customers, right? I should know your daughter or son is getting ready to go to school. I should know, a lot about them with the information we have available for us. And I should make that experience for you as a parent who's got a lot on your mind a very easy experience, right? This is a generational opportunity for me to demonstrate that I care, that we care, and that, using the information and the technology we have available, using the labs, Michael, that you mentioned around how we drive innovation, is probably one of the secret sauces we have right now. So it's not only the problems we're solving, it's how we're solving the problems. when we can't sit in the same room and get on a whiteboard, which, we'll talk more about today as this unfolds.
Great to have you. And Jamal Cole, CEO and founder of My Block, My Hood, My City. You are definitely transforming neighborhoods. What are you excited about today when it comes to innovation?
I just first of all, thank you for having me. I just Googled the word innovation to see what it meant, because I don't really even try to be innovative, but I Googled it, and it was like the process of being innovating. That doesn't help me be innovative. That doesn't help me. But no, I do believe ideas are powerful weapons. And I think they're tools that can be used to change the world if you act on them right away. I think ideas are like candle wicks, like a little light, a little fire on a candle wick. If you don't act right away, blows out. And you're never going to have the same enthusiasm right when you get the idea. Like next week is gone, right? So I think acting right away, and then tally them up at the end of the month to see which idea, did better than others. And that's the one you should, work with. But I'm a volunteer, man. I would love to be known as innovative. I'd love to be known as like a great activist. I mean, I'd love to be known as a lot of things, but I'm realizing what people know me as is, you that dude that carries that shovel and helps seniors. that's about as innovative as
200 seniors.
That's what my tombstone was gonna say. They're laid the dude that shoveled snow for seniors. So that's totally fine with me.
All right, and maybe Congressman Cole at some point. We'll come back to that. All right, let's go to Paul Kitty in an audience poll. Go ahead, Paul. And I think that question is, in what area are we most in need of innovation right now? It's going to come up in a second. Is it education, healthcare? Well, you can read it. Go ahead and click.
All right, we've got responses coming in, Michael. We'll give this another 10 to 15 seconds.
All right, real good. And then I'm going to ask my panelists to react to what we see, and we'll take a different sequence. I'll start with Phyllis, and we'll just rotate through. Again, lots to cover today, so just headlines. And I'm waiting for that Chicago Innovation Award music that sounds like Jeopardy. I can't hum it.
Yeah. Michael, good note. I'll cue that up next time, I promise. Okay, here's the results.
No worries. All right, here we go. Can everybody on the panel, Phyllis, can you see that? So where do we need it in this city?
This is my crowd, education. Thank you. I think for any of these areas, which are all pretty critical, education is the foundation. And we've got to take a serious look at how we are structuring and delivering education to build the talent pipeline for the future of our city. Bottom line, we know that, what national projections are, 97 million new global jobs are going to emerge, and 85 million are going to be displaced. Where will the kids of Chicago be in that paradigm? And so this is a moment in time where we've got to really rethink what learning looks like and how, obviously I have a lot of opinion about that, but I think that's the most critical aspect as we think about the safety of our city, as we think about equity in our city. How are we really enabling access and opportunity for every student to have a seat at the table?
All right, thanks, Phyllis. Hey, Jamal, I'm going to go to you next because I see the next priority is reducing crime and violence. What's your reaction as you look at the poll?
I agree with Phyllis. I think we need education. I mean, what does social justice mean? That's like a nebulous term that we saw in the playoffs yesterday in the end zone. Advanced social justice. What are you talking about? Like, no one knows what that means. I think we need to educate people on what that means. As far as even crime and gun violence, what does that mean? I think that the way poverty and segregation contribute to gun violence is poorly understood. So like if a plane goes down, they say, why'd the plane go down? They get the black box and, oh, it's an engine or electric. When it's gun violence or violence in Chicago, all them people just crazy. They're just shooting each other. No, like gun violence, it shouldn't be a reality. It's a reflection of a lot of things which we need to be educated about. 5 things that I've identified: racial and economic injustice, high incarceration rates, high unemployment rates, poor neighborhoods, under-resourced schools. When you have those 5 conditions, that's the F5 perfect storm for this gun violence thing. So I think education is where you start, and then we can start asking ourselves when it comes to violence from a federal level, what can you do to reduce, racial and economic injustice? Are we talking about reparations? When you talk about mass incarceration, are we talking in Finland, there's 10 years is a life sentence. When you talk about jobs, I mean, federal job guarantees. But as far as
Jamal, let me come back to you, because I mean, I want to also share, you've taken a bullet in this town, so I respect you. I like those 5, and I'm coming back. So just, I want to know about innovations, because those 5 are big. Let me get to our other panelists. Chris Gates, what did you see there, and what do we need? What do we need right now?
Yeah, well, I think Phyllis touched on it in her opening comments, right? Virtual learning cannot be a plan B. It cannot be an alternative option to it, right? If we embrace it and we're doing it in such a fashion, it should be the go-to mechanism. It is a great equalizer. You don't have to go to a specific facility with all of the investments that have been made. I'm sitting in my office. I have access to the exact same technology that anybody in the world has access to. One of my sons, he's a twin. He stumbled across an MBA from the University of Texas, which is a very exclusive school around data science, and it's available for free. And he doesn't care whether he gets a certificate or not, right? He is learning some amazing skills, and he is the one that's investing in it. He's not whining about, I'm on Zoom and I can't hear and you're on mute. He's solving those problems, and he's thirsty for the knowledge and that access. You know, he wouldn't have been able to get into the University of Texas, to be honest with you, but he's fought his way in through something that's made available to him for free, that's available to all of us. So I don't think education virtually should be a plan B. It needs to be on equal playing ground with being in person and making it available to all demographics anywhere you are.
All right, so there's some consensus here. Abdul, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just add, you know, technology doesn't solve all problems, but it can play a big role in being put to good use, right, as a tool to enable a number of solving a number of challenges. You know, to Phyllis's point, the personalized learning technology can, you know, there's so much you could do with technology to deliver, because we all learn differently. Right? Some of us enjoy reading, some of us are more visual, some of us love to listen, right, to books and learn that way. So the beauty of technology is it enables that personalized learning journey, which is fantastic, coupled with, you know, access, connectivity to everybody. That should be a basic right. Everybody should be able to get on the internet and learn, right, equally. And then, you know, you apply technology in different areas like healthcare, and you know, climate change. It's just limitless what we could do. So I'll keep it to that, Michael, so we can get into other topics. I know you have a lot.
So from my panel, and I'm going to keep with you for a minute, Abdul. You know, I think our panel, we've got well over 100 people on the call today. They want to learn from you 4 leaders. You know, let's turn to the innovation process. Abdul, how do you evaluate an idea at Intel? And I'm going to ask each of you to give me a headline on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number, when you talk about an idea, there's all kinds of things that you know, are encompassed in an idea, right? So for us, we look at advanced research as an area of innovation within our Intel labs. We look at, you know, things that could improve the products, right, for our customers and end users. And then we also look at innovations that really, you know, all of them have, at the end of the day, have to serve a purpose. So at Intel, we really look at, is it an incremental change, or are we driving a disruptive, you know, innovation, or are we looking to grow a new business, or are we going, you know, looking to be more competitive in an area that we're already in? So, and we have a number of places within the company that really are seeds for innovation. I mentioned labs, do advanced research. We have an incubation program within the company where I, as an employee, can actually submit my own proposal and can get seed funding. So I don't have to leave Intel. I can actually start a small company within Intel. And then we have our venture capital arm, which is Intel Capital. And that's where we go and invest in startups, and ultimately, in many cases, we acquire some of those companies, right? So that's just kind of a quick lay of the land on that topic at Intel. So,
all right, and I should compliment you. I heard that Intel's putting $20 billion into U.S. manufacturing in Ohio. We want that in Illinois too, but we're glad it's onshore. That's really great.
I bet you we can use a lot of talent. People, you know, it's not that far, and I think it's going to be a great magnet for a lot of talented people.
All right, let me go. Chris Gates, you know, at that innovation lab at the Merchandise Mart. How do you evaluate an idea?
Well, I tell you, it is funny how, you know, the way Jamal explained it, he did it in words for a non-technical person, right? You just do a bunch of things during the month and you kind of look back and see what was the good idea, what resonated. And we're doing that. We're changing our model from a historical planning process where we go through months of evaluation. You got to know the right people. You got to put your ideas on paper. You get funding, and that funding lasts for 3 years, whether it's a good idea or not, right? You're going to engineer yourself into something that's fantastic. We're switching that to more of an innovation type of process where we call it 6 and 6. So if you come in with an idea, you get funded for 6 weeks. You've got the ability to kind of spin up an idea, kind of show us what it's going to look like, understand more about what it's actually going to deliver and how much it's going to really cost. And if you get green lighted for that 6 weeks, you get 6 months worth of funding to make it happen. And we don't go beyond that, right? And just because you spent more time on it doesn't make it a better idea. Getting it out to market quick does. And in that first process, if your idea comes in 6 weeks and it's a bad idea, there's no problem. We just shut that down. We free you up and we go after the next idea. And people find it exciting. There's competition, there's awards, there's all kinds of.
Good stuff, Chris. Let me hear Phyllis for a minute. Phyllis, Leap Innovations, how do you evaluate an idea?
Yeah, I'll be quick. You know, we first think about, you know, is there a need? You know, is there clear demand, you know, amongst the school districts or educators, parents that we serve? You know, is there ease of adoption, scalability, and access to funding that is sustainable, which is always the challenge when you think about K-12 education in particular. So those are some of the things we consider as we think about innovation. And our perspective is that we want disruptive innovation, not just sustainable or sustaining innovations, because we think there's a disruption that is needed. We think COVID is accelerating that. And so we really want to think about what are the disruptive innovation opportunities that we can pursue in the learning space.
Well said. Thanks, Phyllis. Jamal, I know the mayor of New York just restarted his police gun squad. You guys are doing lots of things to reduce gun violence, to serve the community. How do you evaluate a good idea in the neighborhood?
You said a lot. I would say energy. I don't believe in sustainability either, really. I mean, a flower isn't sustainable. So I guess when it comes to an idea, when I say, hey, I want to put $100,000 of lights on King Drive to inspire hope and interrupt trauma, nobody's going to believe in that. It's just how much am I going to be able to go to Home Depot and get the workers in the parking lot to help me put the lights up or not? So it's like, when you come at me with an idea, I really gauge the, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's just, does your passion grip me? And if it does, I'm like, you know what? I want to support that. That's how I feel about it.
All right. So intuition is as important as science here in this.
Yeah, for me.
Well done. Well said. All right. Let me keep going. Great panel. I appreciate where you're headed. I want to just get a headline on emerging technologies, and let me go to Phyllis first here. Phyllis, you know, what emerging technologies are you embracing for that offsite learning, that remote learning? Is it VR? What is it?
Yeah, I think we're all going to be learning in the metaverse in the future is what's going to happen. Everyone on here should check out Dreamscape Learn. Which is a partnership from one of the founders of DreamWorks and Arizona State University. Walter Parks, who's a well-known Hollywood director, is doing storytelling around learning. They're starting first with biology as an example. And, you know, through the Oculus, you're literally transforming students into a new world where they are learning biology. They are actively, identifying specimens, going through the problem-solving process. The storytelling connects their emotion to the learning experience, and it is really transformative. So that's what I think is going to be ahead. And again, when we think about equity and access, doesn't matter where you are or where neighborhood you happen to be in or where you happen to live. The opportunity of learning anytime, anywhere is upon us, and it's going to be exciting in the future.
All right, thanks for that, Phyllis. Let me go over to Intel. Abdul, without favoring any particular provider or any company, are there technologies that you're excited about that are going to change the future of work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to start with, I think, 5G revolution is about to hit us, and that's going to open up so much more access to people, right, that may not have access today. But there's a lot of other exciting things happening. I've mentioned the trend of low-code, no-code software development, not to get too geeky on the audience here, but the fact that companies can develop and deploy applications to solve real-world problems without having to code necessarily or having the expertise, the deep expertise required today. Robotics and automation is another huge area, I think, as you look at the advancement of compute at the edge with Internet of Things. There's so much that is going to hit us here soon before we know it. And then finally, something I'm really excited about that we're working on in our advanced research labs is what we call Pneumo Morphic compute, which is really, think of this as emulating the brain in the development of artificial intelligence. So you're really doing, it's just a fascinating capability. And actually we have prototype chips that are running today and software being developed for it. So just to name a few.
Excellent, exciting. Chris, what's exciting to you on the new technology front? Big data, big problems.
There's a ton of innovation that's happening out there, and you just got to be curious enough to go try to find it. You need to understand what problem you're solving, to be able to apply it in the right fashion. We're a big user of a lot of telematics. We talk about 5G and the ability to know where things are in space and time. We do a lot with voice to text. Voice is a big asset for Allstate as we translate the experience you're having when you're calling in with a claim of some sort. We're able to apply artificial intelligence on that and bring real live imagery of the location that you're in, so that as I'm having a conversation with you, I can ask better questions about what actually happened, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of you as a customer and not having to have that same conversation multiple times. So, and the technology we're using now in a year will be obsolete. There'll be something else out there, and being willing and nimble enough to be able to take advantage of that is what's key.
Okay, let me go to Jamal. Jamal, on the south side of Chicago, we're advancing quantum technology at the University of Chicago, but what kind of technology do we need in the neighborhoods? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, jobs. I mean, we need jobs that installing solar panels on people's roofs, insulation in attics. Like, if the federal government could offer you a job that paid $25 an hour with benefits to do something valuable for your neighborhood, what does your neighborhood need, and what are you willing to do that would give you dignity? Nobody wants to sweep. Oh man, you picking up trash on the street? Nobody's gonna do that. Oh, you got a job. Nobody's gonna give me dignity, right? So I think that also job training at Chicago State, or just teaching kids to be entrepreneurs. That's where I would start.
Let me probe on that. Just one more. Some of the companies in Chicago have been doing apprenticeship programs. I'm hearing people talk about apprentices in cybersecurity. Is that the kind of innovation we need? Well,
I mean, I think there's 15 currency exchanges in my neighborhood, no banks. So if I ask a kid what's a job at a bank, they don't know. But most kids want to be rappers and basketball players. So exposure is key. We need to educate these youth and take them to learn about consumer technology, learn about, what jobs are at a bank, learn about Microsoft engineering. Once we show them better, they can do better. But right now, if they don't know any better, they can't do any better. And so I think first, a lot of jobs are needed, but we have to expose them to what actually exists.
Well said, and thank you. Let me go to that second audience poll. Paul, Kitty, you've got another question. I'm trying to keep us on time, and I hope I'm giving each of our panelists adequate time.
Yep, coming right up, Michael. Here it is.
Okay, do you see remote work as helping to spur innovation or as an obstacle to innovation? Take a second, think of that Jeopardy music, and we'll let our panelists respond to the results.
I would hum it, Michael, but no one wants to hear that.
No, and I wouldn't do it right.
Okay, we'll give this about another 10 seconds.
And Chris Gates, we're going to let you go first on the reaction to the remote work. And then I think we have to go to Intel since they're empowering all this.
All right, ending the poll and sharing results.
Wow, 50% of you say remote work is good for innovation, 16% not so much, and about a third are undecided. Chris, how do you read that, and what do you think?
Yeah, I would, you know, being on the panel, I'm not able to vote, but I would have absolutely voted for that. I think innovation is being accelerated by being remote. We're able to put a lot of diversity of thought together that wouldn't typically come and talk about problems and how we solve them. Typically, you get group think, I think, when you're in the same real estate building, the same region. And what we're seeing is as long as we're able to use the remote technology appropriately and have processes for people to be able to collaborate like we are today, it's an accelerant for us. We get a lot of diversity of thought applying their time to critical problems.
All right, thanks for that. Abdul, what's your thought on it?
Yeah, I'm gonna add to the diversity of thought. I'm gonna say this: the virtual environment has allowed us to be a lot more inclusive. You know, back in the days when you're actually sitting in an office and you're meeting with people in a room, half the team is not there or in a different country, different part of the world, and don't feel included. Now with technology, I'm able to have everyone join in, where we use highly collaborative tools like Microsoft Teams or Slack. There's other, you know, tools out there that allows us to carry on conversations and have discussions, you know, on those tools where everybody has access to them and is able to be part of that conversation and contribute. So I would say, in addition to the diversity, I think technology is enabling better inclusive environments for collaboration and for everyone's voice to be heard. And to just be part of that, part of the effort. So that's what I'm.
All right, let me go, thanks for that, Abdul. Jamal, let me go to you before Phyllis. I mean, how is remote work, you know, looking in the neighborhood? Is it relevant? Is it an opportunity or not?
I'm just gonna play devil's advocate and say that I think that you know, when it comes to, you gotta actually be inside of the currency exchange to see how they shackle the ink pens to the table, to be, you know, to see how that's an injustice. You know, you have to actually be inside the currency exchange to see how they talk to you behind a 3-inch bulletproof glass window, and then they charge you 3% on your money. Like, who's really being robbed here? You know, like, I think that you have to hear the conversations. Like, I think you can be online all you want, but when you actually are in the community and you hear the helicopters wake you up in the morning, when you see the police turn their lights on when you're not doing nothing wrong, when you see those things, I think that then you actually become more than empathetic. You become compassionate. You want to do something about it. So I think being online is great, but I think that when you actually show up, it inspires other people that are already doing the work to let them know, like, oh, we see you and we want to do more. You know, I think you got to show up still.
You got to show up in the neighborhood. Good stuff. Phyllis, last word on this. What about remote work, remote learning? You're an advocate.
Yeah, I am, but not all remote. And I don't think all remote works. In fact, you know, Harvard has a great study about hybrid learning is the best way. All in person and all remote doesn't work. I think the key going forward is flexibility. I think there is, you know, look, human touch, engagement, especially when you're trying to innovate. Those you know, unplanned collisions. The spark ideas and collaboration, I think, are really important that we can't trade off in the physical context. I think the other thing we need to consider as we think about filling the talent gap in Chicago, especially with technology skills, you know, what scares me a bit is that you know, companies can source anywhere. Doesn't matter where you're from. So when we think about how we're really sourcing career opportunities, job opportunities, again, in the fast-growing tech space, for Black and brown children in this city, you know, companies feel like, Leo, I can get those resources anywhere now. So you know, there's a balance here that, you know, if we're not careful, this you know, complete focus on remote work could actually exacerbate inequities. So I think there's a balance that we've got to reach.
I'm going to come back to you for what the solutions might be, which I'm suggesting might be community and making sure that the company's local, hire local, but we'll come back to that. I want to ask a question for our audience about, you all are leaders. How do you lead innovation? What's the one thing that you do, Chris Gates, to lead innovation? What's your advice to our audience members who want to be leaders? How do you lead innovation?
Yeah, I think it starts with, you got to be curious, right? You got to know that innovation is changing on a regular basis. You got to be looking for the disruptors. You got to be able to articulate it in such a way where you're solving a problem. It's not technology for technology sake for it to be effective. And I think you need to spend time in our world when we are in the technology side of the house. For some of us on the panel, we can't take for granted the people we're talking to understand what technology can and cannot do, right? So we've got to take the time to educate them as well. And we've all grown up historically with understanding what IQ is from an intelligent quotient standpoint, or even EQ from an emotional standpoint. Are you aware of somebody's feelings? There's an emerging topic around TQ, technology acumen. Do the people that you're working with understand the art of the possible from a technology standpoint? And if so, can they apply it to the problems that they see on a day-to-day basis? Because I may be very proficient in technology, but I've never been to a currency exchange. I don't know how technology may or may not be able to help, in that situation. Having an intelligent conversation with Jamal around what I see in other industries, there may be some innovation there that we're missing because we're not in the same conversation.
Well said. Jamal, I wanted to go to you as a leader. What's your advice to others who want to lead innovation and change?
I would just say that when you have an idea and you have a team around you, present your idea. And then this is the hard part. When you start getting the feedback back, just say, hey, you know what? Next week, talk to me about it. Because right now I can't, you have to, because that'll mess up your whole energy. It's taking so much negativity. And it's like, I've learned to not get upset. You ain't messing up my mode. This is what I want to just do, what I asked you to do now. And then next week, I promise you, I'll find time to get the feedback. But right now, let's go all for it. I think that little simple trick will help you be a better leader. Well said.
Well said. Abdul, what do you recommend for others who want to be leaders of innovation?
Yeah, I think it comes down to a lot of what Jamal and Chris mentioned. It's having the passion, believing in something, or having the passion to want to fix a problem that you see, or improve something that you think can be improved, and deliver something to a community that is isn't there today. And then collaboration with people that can help you, right? I think the most successful companies are always established by at least two people. There's always co-founders, right? And sometimes more, sometimes three, sometimes five. So don't go at it alone. Go at it with a team of people that can actually help you see things you're not seeing, bring points of views that you may not be thinking about. They essentially make you better, right? Surround yourself with people that make you better.
Well said. Phyllis, what's your leadership of innovation guidance to our group today?
Yeah, I think in addition to the great comments, I think it's important as a leader to create an inclusive problem-solving environment, to ensure that you're including diverse perspectives, because everyone brings a different lens. And it's really important to cultivate that and to make it safe to fail quickly and learn from it.
Well said. All right, now I want to get the audience involved. Paul Kitty, can you read out a couple of questions? I've still got a couple more. We're right on time. Do you have a question, Paul, from the audience?
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions come in, and we'll see how many we can get to here. So let's see. I'll pull up one. So this is from Samantha Collins. And this is in relation to partnerships and collaboration. And she wants to know, did COVID change the nature of your innovations in the context of partnerships and collaboration? Over the past 2 years, has it been easier or more difficult to partner and collaborate?
All right. So let's go to Abdul. Has COVID made it easier or harder to partner?
Honestly, it's made us look in places we may not have in the past, right? And for example, we launched a pandemic innovation fund that we invested $50 million into companies that are targeting, dealing with the pandemic and coming up with solutions to help with that. So it really made us look at new partners, new areas that maybe we haven't been as engaged with in the past. But, absolutely, I think it has gotten us to think differently and look for new ways of doing things.
All right, Phyllis, has COVID sparked innovation?
I mean, for sure. I'll tell you, I am completely disrupting Leap Innovation's model. I think it has been challenging, though. There's that threat rigidity, right? We're seeing this happening in our school system that, is just overwhelmed and stressed to the point that they want to sustain back to what was. So that does make it more difficult. But I will tell you, there are a lot of partners out there that we've been engaging that really want to help to take this moment to drive some change. So, we're hoping that we can advance a new initiative around a new learning model in this context.
All right, thanks, Phil. So let me go to Jamal. Jamal, what about COVID's impact in the neighborhoods in terms of enabling change or hindering it?
It's you don't know if businesses care so much about justice being denied or if they care about business being interrupted sometimes. So from a social impacts perspective, it's a lot of new people reaching out that want to support. I think that it's a challenge for us because it's a good challenge because now we get to talk about how we can work together over the long term. Like you don't want to just, like we work with 150 students from the most divested community. So it's not good to just come in our lives for this year and then leave. So let's talk about together how we can, how we can work for multiple years in multiple high schools to expose these kids to different opportunities. So I think it's brought upon a great challenge for us all, businesses, nonprofits, and government to step up and work together. It's great.
Okay, thanks for that. And Chris, what about you? I mean, how has COVID impacted innovation at Allstate?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, it was tough at first. I mean, it challenged all of our norms, all of our processes, all the things we depended on for decades were no longer available to us, and we almost went into a really dark place for several months, just trying to figure out how do we operate, and almost came to a standstill because we didn't know how to operate. And coming out of that, I do think it's forced us to think a lot differently. I do think we're working with a much more diverse population of companies from size, from regions, from all different dimensions that wouldn't have typically interacted with us, because to interact with a very large firm costs a lot of money, right? Just to be able to do business with an Intel or an Allstate, you've got to go through so much certifications that most companies couldn't even bear it. Out of necessity due to COVID, we didn't have that anymore, right? We had to take all comers. If somebody had a good idea or they had a good product or good innovation, we looked at it, and it took us a while to figure that out. But I think the last year, the 2021, I think we've benefited, quite frankly, a lot from the shift in the model.
Now, who's that on your right, Chris? We gotta introduce that next panelist.
Yeah, this is Willie.
Hey, Willie.
Hey, Willie, say hi.
So, Willie, a question. One of the things I should point out, since I mentioned $20 billion in investment in Ohio with Intel, Chris, one of the things that Allstate's doing, it maybe you can give us a headline on, and I think it's COVID related, is you're transforming your office space. You're selling your office complex. I guess it's going to become distribution and warehouse space. And you're moving downtown. Am I right?
Yeah. Big, very emotional topic for, generations of Allstaters. In our business, you will see 3 generations working there, coming up through, we've got preschool on campus. People get married that went to preschool together and they all work. I mean, it's a very family environment, and that campus the world's changed, right? So we're selling that campus in the Northbrook area. We are moving downtown. So we just made a big investment announcement last week in a facility downtown. We're going to centralize our space and be a little bit more committed to the downtown area as we're going after a different set of talent and trying to be more closely linked to our innovation hub, which is at the Merchandise Mart.
Well done.
So it's a very, very exciting time for us.
Very exciting. Let me go back to Paul Kitty. I've got time for one or two audience questions. I've got a question to come.
Yeah, so this question is from Eileen, and this actually relates to something that Jamal, in your last response, you began to touch on, but maybe we can go into more specifics. And Eileen said, Jamal made an important distinction earlier in this conversation about being innovative in the way that you engage people who typically don't get involved. So how do we stop thinking innovation only equals technology? And how does Jamal and others see ways that businesses can better engage with their communities?
Jamal, go to you on that one.
Can you ask the question again? Sorry, please. It's just the last.
Yeah, kind of a two-parter. So she's getting at the distinction you made. Said you mentioned you're known for volunteer service in the context of innovation, where you've been innovative in engaging people who typically don't get involved. So how do we stop thinking innovation only equals technology?
Gotcha.
And then the second part is how do you see ways that other panelists and businesses, people with different resources can innovate around getting engaged with their communities?
Yeah, you just show up, man. Like it's nothing innovative about showing up. You just show up and shovel snow. If it's a heat wave, you go buy water and deliver it to their doorstep. And you don't, you do more than people expect. And when you show up with not only water but with a box fan, it's like, ooh, it's a little bit more than I expected. And then people they like stuff like that. And then you feel better. You just feel better. And don't do it for. I just saw Congressman Rush a second ago. He needed help getting in a car. I did it, right? I wanted to say, why didn't you endorse me? But I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna help get in the car. It's snowy out, right? So you just build that up. And as far as how the businesses get more into, I honestly don't know. I think they would know. There's so much things that I don't know, man. I can't even begin to tell you how much I don't know. So they would probably answer that question better than me.
All right. Well, let me see if others can build on this. Go ahead, Abdul.
Yeah, I think every company has to have a corporate social responsibility program. They've got to, I didn't tell, and I know almost many of the companies, Allstate and others, have similar programs. It's if we work in a community, we got to serve that community, right? It's not all about technology. As Jamal said, it's about showing up and doing what needs to be done. If it's a cleanup of a neighborhood, if it's planting trees, if it's building a home with Habitat for Humanity, right? So there's a ton of the good, at least the good I see from my seat is, I work for a company I'm very proud of, the track record of community service. And we're encouraged to go out and volunteer. And when we volunteer, the company matches our hours. And those are ways I think that's a way for businesses to get more and more involved, is to formalize those programs and reward employees for investing their time in showing up into the community and helping, right?
All right, well said. Go ahead, Phyllis, and then I'm going to get another question.
Sorry, yeah, the only thing I was going to add to that, and this gets to the premise of how we've started, Michael, as you know, is that we wanted to shorten the distance between, companies developing solutions with the students and the teachers they're developing solutions for, and develop it with them, not to them. So I think part of that is getting really proximate to the user base that you are serving, and particularly with education companies. And that does not always mean technology. It means about your process. How are you integrating the community and others that you're solving for into the design process and not taking that for granted.
Well said. All right, let me get one more question, and then I've got a couple to close out on, and I'll give it back to Luke.
Yeah, so Curtis Powell is asking, the arts community has been hard hit for the last 2 years. How can we reinvent the way that businesses support the arts? Not just money, but through creative partnerships as well.
Anybody want to take that one? Who wants to jump in? Phyllis? Or unmute.
businesses can support the arts? Is that the
how can we be
large
innovative
question?
and support the arts?
Yeah, so let's see. I mean, again, I think about everything from a learning or education lens. And, again, I think about, again, shortening the distance between, there's a lot of talent emerging in our communities and in our city that are interested in nurturing their growth in the arts. So the baseline of learning math, as an example, is anchored in the arts. And so, it really is about, how can we leverage technology and to create what we've been kind of calling this opportunity marketplace, right? Where we can curate the wonderful arts programs and arts experiences and get that better linked to students' needs and interests. So again, I think with technology, we can do that. It looks like Jamal has probably a better answer to that than I do.
Let's go to Jamal, and then I've got 2 more questions real quick. Go ahead, Jamal.
Definitely not better, Phyllis. I've been writing down everything you say pretty much. Make it safe to fail. I'm taking that. That's amazing. But anyways, as far as art, my 11-year-old daughter wants to be an artist. How I incorporate what I'm doing is, if I'm talking about qualified immunity and officers not being able to lean on that, I explain it to my daughter and say, draw me something. You know what I mean? As far as like sometimes your art is not going to be, people can't see 4, 5, and 6. When you're an artist, you tell them 1, 2, 3, and they can't see the vision of 4, 5, 6. So just keep on doing what you love, man, and you're going to organically build relationships that'll help you. I stood downtown Chicago and sold books in front of Foot Locker. I did it, man, when it was cold, and 97 people out of 100 still said no. Just keep on doing it, but go to my website, formyblog.org. We have some grants, small grants available for artists to keep y'all afloat, man. But that's just, I have a lot more to say, but I don't want to.
Well, and I got to come back to you for those points on gun violence. You're going to get the chance on that one more time, but last 2 questions real quick. All right, crystal ball question. If we're meeting again in 12 months, what's the unexpected innovation that might have changed the year? Abdul, anything that just might be a breakthrough that we're not thinking of? Give me a headline. Anything? Take a guess.
Well, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think the more we can connect the world and things, I think the more innovation will happen. So again, I talked a little bit about 5G and future generation, but I think you'll see a lot more building up in all over in terms of applications in retail and healthcare and education, in industrial, because of the connectivity, right? Once you have that pervasive connectivity, you'll see it 10x factor in innovation. That's my prediction. But
well said. All right, Phyllis, if we meet 12 months from now, what's the one surprise?
I'm going to ditto Abdul, because I see that the connected tissue around a connected learning or learner-connected universe that's going to blur the lines between what we call in-school and out-of-school learning to ubiquitous access to learning.
All right, so we're going to figure out how to land planes at O'Hare in 5G, and we're going to have some amazing bandwidth that's going to change the world. Chris Gates, what do you predict in 12 months?
You hit on it. Amazing bandwidth to unlock the world, right? To unlock the value. And I don't know if it's Starlink, which is Elon Musk's low orbit access, giving, ubiquitous communication capability, bringing education to areas of the world that have never even had, running water in some cases. I think that's going to unlock a whole new generation of thoughts to be applied to innovation. I think that's a key one. And then, building on the 5G thing, I think when you see 5G applied in a smart city standpoint, where it's linking a lot of different things together in the community, I think that's going to unlock a lot of business potential for people to build upon that.
All right, well said. Jamal, what's the one unexpected innovation we'll see in 12 months?
Well, one of the things I'm seeing the universe tell me is that a lot of inmates write me from jail and tell me about their cases. And they say, hey, do you know when the police brought me in, they put an open vial on the table, and then they came back and said they had my fingerprints. I don't know what was in that cup on the table, but however, I didn't do this. And then once they tell me, I talk to my friends about it, they connect these people to lawyers, and now they're working on their case. And so I think if there's some innovation, maybe we can use technology to start getting more of these stories from people that are locked up in Statesville and telling and getting them help, because we have to reimagine what justice looks like.
Well said. All right, let me go. Last question, and I'm going to give it back to Luke Tannen. I want to, this is all about innovations that we need right now, and I'm going to start with Abdul and end with Jamal here. Abdul, what's the #1 innovation we need right now to change, to solve these problems we're talking about? Any closing headline?
Well, I actually want to just touch on a point I made earlier about remote work. We've lost the human touch. So how about we find ways to care for each other in ways that maybe technology doesn't today allow us to do, and either through technology or otherwise. So I would say I would love to see us spend more time on how to get closer, because I think in part of technology has maybe disconnected us more than it should have as communities. So
well said. Phyllis, what's the one wish?
My wish is that our students could see their potential, see their ambition, see their purpose. I think that would be a game changer, and how they can show up in our city and realize that they have access and potential to be who they want to be. It's the best that exposure point that Jamal was talking about. I think it's really critical right now.
Okay, thanks for being with us. Chris, what about you?
What's the
one wish you have?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of study on the science of happiness, and really the world, we are all facing burnout and just being tired, and we all want to rest, but there's a big science around the difference between rest and restoration. I can lay in Netflix out all day. I'm not getting any of my batteries charged, right? Restoration is me being out doing something, giving. To what Jamal says, give something to somebody and you get something back, right? It charges your batteries. It makes you better at what you're doing. You feel more energetic and you have a sense of purpose. There's a lot right now. There's a lot of apprehension around even leaving the house with everything that's going on in the world. We got to figure out a way. That's my wish. Let's figure out a way to get outside. Let's find a way to safely touch and help and revitalize ourselves and be better.
Chris, thanks for being with us. Well said. Jamal, what are those 5 points that you made about reducing gun violence, and what's the one thing you wish for going forward?
The 5 points about gun violence are, why it exists is racial and economic. And well, think about a storm, a F5 storm, a tornado, like racial and economic injustice, high incarceration rates, high unemployment rates, poor neighborhoods, under-resourced schools. There's probably some more issues, but when you have those conditions, the question isn't why is there so much gun violence? The question is, why isn't there more? I mean, because if you have those 5 conditions in a community, there's gonna be the term gun violence. So my wish is that I could listen a lot more, because the more that I listen, the more that I learn, and the more that I'm able to connect what the will to do good with the good that needs to be done by just listening. So I wish that I could just do a better job at just listening and shutting up.
You did great. What a great panel. Jamal, Chris, Phyllis, Abdul, thank you so much for being with us at the Chicago Innovation Awards and the Chicago Innovation Day. Let me give it back to Luke Tannen, and I'm just applauding on behalf of the audience for all 4 of you.
I am too, Michael, and I want to applaud you as well. Thank you for doing a terrific job leading today's session. I'd say that the title of Best Panel Moderator in the City is a title you're still holding in 2022, another year. There's no doubt about that. And to Phyllis, Chris, Abdul, and Jamal, you are an outstanding group of speakers today. I know you each touched on the importance of diversity of thought to foster innovation. Well, I would say there was great diversity of thought among the 5 of you. And from the high-tech work, that is being done at Intel and Allstate, to the way, Phyllis, you and your team are reinventing education, and to you, Jamal, and the approach you're taking to build, compassion for and opportunities in Chicago's neighborhoods, it is really remarkable what you're all doing. So we're very grateful for you being here with us. One thing I wanted to highlight was a comment, I think it was made by you, Chris, initially. At one point you said, there may be innovation that we're missing because we're not all in the same conversation. I thought that was a really poignant comment to make. And I think today, in fact, is an example of the power of bringing together different kinds of innovators. Some of you who I know hadn't met each other before today, to really have a great diverse conversation that our hope is can spark even more new ideas. So I'm personally excited to see what comes next from all this. And I also want to lastly thank our audience for tuning in, helping us kick off the year on a high note by focusing on innovation, especially innovations we need right now. But guess what? We need innovation all year round. And so that's why we have ongoing programming and events like this every few weeks. The next one, in fact, is this Friday, January 27th at 9 o'clock in the morning, called Innovation in Action, followed by Innovation is for Everyone on February 23rd, which that one will be held in person. So we're just getting started from here, and it's a new year. We're excited. We've got more planned in 2022 than ever before, and we hope to see all of you again soon. So thank you all.